the weather forecast with C3 Production.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. It's good to have you for this other edition of the weather forecast as we all expect calm weather across the entire nation this afternoon and until the evening. I advise you to always have your umbrellas due to rainfall that is likely to persist in some localities of the east, the south, the center, and the coastline, and even in the western highlands. We'll have a maximum temperature of 43 degrees, that is in part of the far north region, and 41 degrees expected in the north region, and 33 degrees in the littoral region. For details, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the Adamawa region where light showers are expected with thunderstorm. In Menganga only, the rest will be partially covered. The same weather condition to prevail until the evening where it will be cloudy. Next, let's go to the central region where showers are expected with thunderstorm in the whole region. The same weather condition to prevail until the evening. I advise you to always have hot drinks. Let's end now with the southwest region where showers are expected in most of the region with thunderstorm. I advise you to always unplug your electrical appliances. The same weather condition is likely to prevail until the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, with such weather condition, it's time for you to plant your sweet potatoes. Have a good day. God bless you.
That was the weather forecast with C3 Production.
Très heureux de vous retrouver. Il est 12h à Yaoundé. La CRTV vous informe. Bienvenue à cette session d'information bilingue et merci de rester en notre compagnie pour les 30 prochaines minutes. Bonjour Emmanuela.
Good afternoon, Mohamed Nana.
Vous déroulez les faits majeurs de l'actualité.
The Interministerial Committee to monitor the government's response strategy against COVID-19 is deliberating on the construction of additional specialized centers. Chaired by Prime Minister Joseph Dion Ngute, the session also focuses on the application of barrier measures in markets across the country. The 2021 Cameroon Humanitarian Response Plan, which aims at providing life-saving assistance to 4.4 million people affected by insecurity in the country, has been launched, with the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs being part of the initiative. We receive as guest on this edition of the news Carla Martinez. She is the head of office for OCHA Cameroon. And on our feature page, we zoom on one of Cameroon's fine artists, Kobe Williams. The young painter has carved a name for himself in the use of sun to realize works of art like portraits of individuals and many more. Rosaline Forsa of our Littoral Bureau will take us to discover the young portrait. And those are our headlines.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
En ouverture de ce journal, rendons-nous à l'immeuble Étoile où le gouvernement évalue la stratégie de riposte au coronavirus. La concertation hebdomadaire que préside depuis 10 heures le Premier ministre Joseph Dion Ngute met à jour le point sur l'évolution de la pandémie et celui sur la réactivation des sites de lavage des mains. Pour en parler, retrouvons sur place Laurentine Bekono. Bonjour Laurentine, dites-nous quelles sont les dernières nouvelles de la stratégie gouvernementale de riposte au coronavirus.
Le point actualisé de l'évolution épidémiologique laisse apparaître quelques signes d'inquiétude dans le registre des décès. Les chiffres caracolent au fil des semaines. 88, 77, 40 et maintenant 68 selon le ministre de la Santé publique, Manaou Damalachi. La région du centre garde son rang. C'est l'épicentre de la pandémie en tant que la région la plus exposée avec 33 décès selon le gouverneur de la région du centre, Nassiri Paul Beya. Pour le reste, la prévention doit rester de rigueur. Aussi, la réactivation des points de lavage des mains dans les espaces ouverts au grand public fera l'objet d'un exposé qui sera présenté par le ministre de la décentralisation et du développement développement local, Georges Elangaouba. Même si tout n'est pas tout à fait au point, le pointage actualisé montre que le gouvernement met un point d'honneur à freiner la propagation du coronavirus pour sauver des vies. À l'ouverture des travaux, le Premier ministre chef du gouvernement a fait observer 1 minute de silence en hommage à la mémoire du secrétaire d'État auprès du ministre de la Santé publique chargé des pandémies et des épidémies, Ali Mayatou, décédé le 5 avril dernier. Ce 8 avril, cela fait exactement un mois qu'un autre membre du gouvernement est décédé en fonction. Ici à l'immeuble Étoile, Laurentine Bekono, CRTV.
Merci Laurentine. À votre suite, parlons de ces statistiques qui sont en nette augmentation. 57 337 cas notifiés au Cameroun, dont 851 décès. Face à ces chiffres macabres, certains semblent avoir pris conscience de la dangerosité du virus. On observe une ruée vers les centres de dépistage. Seul problème, ces sites de prélèvement restent très engorgés. De quoi décourager plus d'un sur ce qui s'apparente désormais à un parcours du combattant. Ambiance sur le site du Palais polyvalent des sports de Yaoundé, un reportage de Barbara Padiama.
Un parterre de sujets assis, debout, appuyés contre un support. Attendre son tour, pour beaucoup, c'est comme attendre Godot.
C'est la 3e fois qu'on passe ici, là. À cause du test de Covid, là. Sincèrement, ici, là, ça ne vaut pas la peine.
On nous a dit que le quota pour la journée est fini, qu'on attend pour voir s'il y a une possibilité.
Le concours de patience est lancé dès l'arrivée au centre.
Nous lançons à 8 h, mais nous remarquons que les gens viennent un peu plus tôt. Certains arrivent à 5 h, 6 h pour se faire enregistrer.
Ici, au Papousie, 9h30, fin des prélèvements. Mais encore beaucoup d'appelés. Il faut attendre le signal des laboratoires pour provoquer une autre vague.
Les laboratoires, c'est eux qui conditionnent certaines fois. Mais le ministre de la Santé a demandé qu'on prélève tout le monde, sans quota précis. Ce qui prend un peu plus de temps, c'est l'encodage, parce qu'on doit enregistrer chaque patient sur la plateforme.
Près de 300 personnes espèrent là. Là-bas, à Djungolo, autre centre, on aurait arrêté après la 100e personne.
Ça décourage en fait. J'ai perdu beaucoup de temps, j'ai perdu de l'argent pour le transport parce que je n'habite pas à côté. Et je dois revenir demain, très tôt à 6 h.
Mais pourquoi rester figé quand Yaoundé a mobilisé plusieurs centres de prélèvement?
Djungo là à côté, les sites comme l'hôpital central, l'esplanade de l'Omnisport, Biémassi, tous les districts de santé de Yaoundé ont les sites de prélèvement.
L'information serait-elle mal passée ou les tests de Covid seraient-ils devenus rares au point de tout centraliser?
On le voit, une nouvelle étape de la pandémie est franchie au Cameroun. Face à l'évolution rapide du virus, quel geste adopter pour le confiner? Les médecins prescrivent l'ordonnance des mesures barrières. Se laver les mains, éviter de se toucher le visage, porter un masque et observer la distanciation physique. Cela suppose éviter ces lieux de grands rassemblements. Laurence Okalia.
Écoutez. Le coronavirus est un ennemi très dangereux, tueur silencieux et vicieux. Affectueux des milieux populeux, il se balade entre les accolades et les rigolades. Il a le contact très facile, surtout avec ceux qui ont de la santé fragile.
Il faut éviter les lieux mondains. Il faut éviter d'être surchargé. Il faut éviter les enterrements. Il faut éviter les bars. Il faut éviter les restaurants bondés. Bref, il faut éviter tous les lieux où il y a un attroupement sans distanciation physique. D'au moins 1,5 m par personne.
Le coronavirus n'aime pas la viduité. Il a horreur de la propreté et panique rien qu'au son du mot désinfecté.
Nous devons être obsédés par le lavage des mains. Et il faut éviter de saluer. Il faut éviter d'embrasser et également il faut éviter d'ouvrir les portes, les poignets avec les mains, on peut le faire avec le coude, hein, vous savez.
On se sent peut-être agacé, mais on ne le dira jamais assez. Protégez-vous, le coronavirus finira par s'effacer.
On to one of our lead stories, members of the Interministerial Committee to monitor the government's response strategy against COVID-19 are meeting in Yaoundé to deliberate on specific aspects of the fight against the pandemic chaired by Prime Minister Joseph Dion Ngouté. The session focuses on the construction of additional centers specialized on follow-up of patients as well as the application of barrier measures in markets across the country. Star Building correspondent Christian Cheatam is joining us now live. Christian, the focus on specialized centers, does that mean the pandemic is not receding in Cameroon?
Well, it simply means that the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic is very much present in Cameroon. The cumulative number of positive cases the country has recorded since the start of the pandemic currently stands at 61,731. These are statistics that have been presented by the Minister of Public Health, Manauda Malachi. In the course of the meeting, he's also going to be explaining measures which are being put in place to create new centers for the treatment and follow-up of positive cases of COVID-19 in the country. Also, in the course of today's session, the minister is going to be talking about the campaign for mass testing against COVID-19. There have been rumors that the campaign has stalled or the rhythm has dropped down. He's going to be explaining what exactly the situation is. Another point of focus in today's meeting is the situation in open markets as far as barrier measures and gestures are concerned. The Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, George Elanga Obam, is explaining what measures have been taken by his ministry to reactivate gestures such as the washing of hands and the respect of barrier gestures by clients in the markets, but also by merchants who sell in these markets. Those are the 2 points of focus in today's session of the Interministerial Committee meeting for the follow-up and evaluation of the government's strategy against the COVID-19 pandemic. Details in subsequent editions. This is Christian Chiatam, reporting from the Star Building.
Thank you very much, Christian. The continued satisfaction or sensitization, rather, of Cameroonians by health officials to respect barrier measures against COVID-19 seem to be yielding little fruits as new cases of the pandemic continue to surge in the country. Either face masks are worn on the chin or are not worn at all, or physical distancing and washing of hands is outrightly disregarded. Joyce Tata reports on the wrong practices in COVID-19 fight which need to be redressed.
Face mask or head mask. The fight against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic is still to be taken serious by some Yaoundé inhabitants. In taxis, roads and markets, barrier measures have been forgotten by some, while a few remain alert. A refresher course may be of help to the many who seem to have forgotten.
Number 1, hand hygiene. Develop a steady routine of keeping your hands clean with running water and soap. It's as simple as that. That will help you take off any viral particles that are on your hands and will help you not contaminate yourself by touching your face. Number 2 is using a face mask. And I want to reiterate that so that you can spread the news. It's important to have a face mask on whenever you're in a public gathering. Number 3, it's important to eat healthy. Have some fruits and have some vegetables to boost your immune system. Of note is the fact that young people could carry the disease asymptomatically and transfer it to older people that they meet at home. So to keep your family safe, not only you, but your family and your loved ones, it's important to respect all these public health measures.
The COVID-19 virus is still hovering as the number of positive cases in Cameroon prove. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that every citizen observes these preventive measures so this unwanted visitor is dealt with once and for all.
And the question of how vulnerable pregnant women are when affected by the coronavirus pandemic has continued to preoccupy women in procreation, in the age of procreation in Cameroon. To clarify this and more, our reporter Baldwin Sama caught up with Dr. Mbu Robinson. He's a gynecologist and director of the Gyneco-Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital of Yaoundé. Take a listen.
When you talk of variants, we don't know exactly the variants we have in Cameroon, but since it is a disease that has been ported here, the variants that are in circulation are the P1, the B1427, the B1429, the B1117. These are the ones that are globally in circulation. We believe that what we have in our country are more likely to be the same, even though we have not done any sequencing. However, there is no added information on the effects of these new variants on pregnancy, which still remain the same. Some women are infected, but not as aggressive as before, and the outcome of pregnancy has been the same. So there's no added information. We should rest with our fingers crossed. We better try to prevent being contaminated than thinking much about what it has on pregnancy.
Au Palais des Congrès de Yaoundé, où les députés évaluent en ce moment la stratégie de riposte contre la corruption au Cameroun. Pour en savoir plus, nous retrouvons sur place Nadège Mbaïma. Bonjour Nadège.
Nous sommes une fois de plus au Palais des Congrès de Yaoundé pour la session ordinaire du mois de mars qui se poursuit de ce côté. À l'ordre du jour, la séance plénière spéciale sur la thématique de la lutte contre la corruption au Cameroun. Et devant les parlementaires ce jour, le président de la Commission nationale anticorruption, le révérend Dieudonné Massingan, est là donc ce jour pour présenter les avancées de la lutte contre la corruption au Cameroun. Et pour lui, de 2013 à 2019, le Cameroun, les dénonciations sur la corruption au Cameroun ont quand même fait leur avancée. Ces dénonciations ont permis de recouvrer plus de 1600 milliards. Également, le numéro vert de la CONAC a également permis de plusieurs dénonciations. On est passé de 482 dénonciations en 2010 pour plus de 23 000 dénonciations en 2018, ce qui n'est pas rien pour le président de la Commission nationale anticorruption. Et il est question pour lui de présenter ce jour les entraves à la lutte contre la corruption. Il est également question ce jour pour les parlementaires de questionner toute la stratégie nationale de la lutte contre la corruption au Cameroun et bien sûr de faire des recommandations en vue de la moralisation du bien public. CRTV, Nadège Mbaïma, Palais des Congrès de Yaoundé.
And we're staying at the Yaoundé Conference Center where the chairman of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, Reverend Dr. Dieudonné Massigam, is currently presenting strides made in the fight against corruption in the country. This is in a special plenary before members of parliament who are also examining how far this body has gone to fight against the canker worm. Let's hook up with Clarence Ngi.
And thanks for joining me here at the Yaoundé Conference Center. To the end of the March session of the lower house of Parliament, the National Assembly, there is a special plenary sitting today, of course, where members of Parliament are actually examining the path covered by the National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC, recommendations actually on how to attain the role in moralizing the public against the cankerworm corruption in the country will be made by the end of this sitting. We have the president, or I should say the chairman of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, Reverend Dr. Dieudonné Massigam, who is presently in front of MPs presenting the strides of the struggle as well as challenges facing the Commission in implementing the national strategy of the fight against corruption in the country. That is that out here, but we will be coming back for more information if there will be any. Clarence Guerre, the Yaoundé Conference Center.
Venons-en à ces chiffres de l'ONU. Un Camerounais sur 6 a besoin d'aide humanitaire, soit 4,4 millions de personnes en raison de la crise sociopolitique dans les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. Les exactions de Boko Haram à l'extrême nord, à cela s'ajoute la pandémie à coronavirus. Le ministre de l'administration territoriale a procédé au lancement de ce projet, fruit de partenariat entre les Nations Unies et le gouvernement camerounais. Selon Paul Atanganji, le projet permettra d'apporter des réponses aux problèmes humanitaires au Cameroun. Augustin Guizana.
Selon les responsables du système des Nations Unies, le Cameroun est le deuxième pays le plus affecté par l'insécurité au sein du bassin du lac Tchad, après le Nigeria du fait de Boko Haram, avec plus de 320 000 déplacés. Le pays continue de faire face à la crise sociopolitique dans les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, avec les conséquences qu'on connaît. La crise en Centrafrique aussi a provoqué de nombreux réfugiés. Le coronavirus est venu pour ne rien arranger. C'est pourquoi pour la 8e année consécutive au Cameroun, le système des Nations Unies en collaboration avec le gouvernement lance le plan des besoins et des réponses humanitaires.
Notre plan va affecter 3 millions de personnes. C'est dans le domaine de l'éducation, alimentation sécuritaire, dans le domaine de santé.
Pour le ministre de l'administration territoriale, Paul Atanganji, ce plan vient à point nommé.
Le projet que nous lançons aujourd'hui
a pour but d'accompagner le gouvernement dans sa réponse humanitaire. Nous voulons rassurer tous nos partenaires que nous allons leur apporter dans la compréhension le soutien nécessaire pour l'exercice de leurs activités au Cameroun.
Les responsables du système des Nations Unies n'ont pas révélé le coût estimatif de ce projet. Ils ont dit néanmoins compter sur les partenaires pour atteindre leurs objectifs en 2021 au Cameroun.
And like you just watched on that report there, 4.4 million people in Cameroon are said to be in need of humanitarian aid due to insecurity, diminished coping capacities and lack of access to basic services. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has launched the 2021 Cameroon Humanitarian Response Plan intended to provide life-saving assistance to these vulnerable people. And here on set to talk about this is Carla Martinez. She's the head of office, OCHA, Cameroon. Good afternoon, Carla.
Good afternoon.
And thank you for being guest on this edition of the Midday News on the CRTV.
Thank you. For
your institution has been assisting vulnerable people around Cameroon for some years now. Can we know the balance sheet of what you've been doing so far in brief?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So yesterday we launched the humanitarian needs overview for 2021 and the humanitarian response plan for 2021. This is a process, an analysis of the humanitarian needs in the country and the humanitarian response that the United Nations and the NGOs in collaboration with the government will implement. We started developing this humanitarian needs overview and humanitarian response plan years back. At the beginning, we were only focusing on the crisis in the far north and the refugee crisis in the east. Since 2018, we have also included the crisis in the northwest, southwest. And the crisis, this is a complicated situation with 3 different crises, different contexts, but all of them affected by violence and displacement of population.
Yeah, and talking about the socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, it has made so many victims. And what has been this impact on humanitarian activities, especially as a recent report indicates that a UN convoy was attacked in that part of the country?
Indeed. The insecurity, the violence affects the civilians, and the population in the northwest, southwest, but also affects children, schools, health centers, workers in health education facilities, but also humanitarian workers. And indeed, as you mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, we had an attack on a UN convoy. And indeed, the insecurity, it's a constraint on the access of humanitarian workers to the population in need on the northwest, southwest.
Your report indicates that 4.4 million people are in need of assistance. Can we know what kind of assistance? How did you identify those in need?
Mm-hmm. So during the process to prepare the humanitarian needs overview, we had the different sectors that they did the humanitarian assessments to identify the needs in the different sectors: health, nutrition, food security, water and sanitation. They prioritize these needs. They look at the severity needs, and with a consolidation of all these multi-sector indicators, we estimated 4.4 million people in need, and of those we will target on the response 3 million people, which are the ones with the most acute needs.
In 2020, only 50% of the humanitarian response plan was funded. This year, you have so many people to cater for. Do you have the resources you need?
Well, we are starting the year, as you mentioned, the humanitarian response plan in Cameroon has been traditionally underfunded. In 2018 and 2019, the funding was even less, 44%, 45%. It was 20% in 2020. We hope that now with the launch of the humanitarian needs overview and the humanitarian response plan yesterday, we will encourage our donors, our UN agencies, all our different partners to fund and to support the humanitarian response plan for 2021 so that hopefully we will have the resources to be able to reach all these people in need.
And what is your immediate action? What do you intend to do in the immediate deadline?
We continue with our activities in all the locations affected by the crisis, responding to of the people in need. We have 174 humanitarian actors working in Cameroon, so they continue the work and will continue pledging to the donors to keep their generous support to the humanitarian needs in Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Carla Martinez. You're the head of office for OCHA Cameroon, for being guest on the Midday News.
Thank you very much.
You stay with us. We take you over to Bamenda in the Northwest region, where April 7 every year is commemorated as UN Day of the remembrance of victims of Rwanda genocide that occurred in 1994, resulting in the killing of 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Tutsis. On the occasion of the 17th edition of the Day of Remembrance, Winston Lebga draws lessons for the Northwest, a region hard hit by the socio-political crisis for close to 5 years now.
Well, here you can see a few exhibits of human skulls and bones of victims.
A curator in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, leads visitors through the remnants of the country's 1994 bloodbath.
You can see a collection of a few personal items, loins, certainly worn by women who were massacred in the course of the conflict.
That's Kigali in Rwanda. Here in Cameroon's northwest region, the socio-political crisis has led to the displacement and death of thousands. There are fears that it should not further degenerate into what happened in Rwanda some 27 years ago. Have been talking to the various communities about the atrocities of genocide and the importance of working towards a peaceful way of life.
I'm quite sure that from today, and under the rites that are going to perform here, it will instill a new spirit in the mind of our children.
The socio-political crisis affecting the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon started in 2016. It is still making victims, while the pacification efforts are going on. The word to the wise: remember Rwanda.
And on our feature page, Kobe Williams, a name going down in history as one who uses sand to produce amazing works of art. The passionate painter in his late 20s says his love for drawing brought him into the world of fine art, where sand is all he needs to produce portraits and even more. Kobe Williams had to even dump his teaching profession to fully dedicate himself in sand and chalk painting. Rosaline Fosa of our Littoral Bureau now takes us to discover the sand artist.
Some will say sand is important just during construction. Others will say it is a decorative element. But Sir Kobe Williams will give another significance to the precious mine. The grains constitute the main elements of his artwork, notably sand painting, which does not require pencils or colors, but just the sand.
This art, they call it sand art or sand drawing. So it's the art of using sand and making illustrations out of sand. So today I did my best to illustrate Ada Kenji. He is in some way the inspirer of my sand drawing. He's the ever first, people don't know, but he's the ever first person I drew using sand in 3 years ago in 2018.
It all started like a child's play when his love for drawing motivated curiosity, which later developed to intense research on social media platforms.
I was just trying to have new experience. I was trying new stuffs and so on and so forth. As people know, I use different elements to do my art and illustrations. So in 2018, I tried to do sand, but it wasn't that good. But it went popular in last year in 2020 with the Ngabu event massacre. So that's where I used sand art and it went popular.
Working from home, the young sand painter has been able to represent hundreds of prominent figures in Cameroon since he discovered this art some years ago.
Un énorme talent au bout des doigts, on l'a vu. Dans l'actualité sportive, le ministre des Sports mouille en ce moment le maillot sur le terrain des chantiers infrastructurels de la CAN 2021. Le professeur Narcisse Moelle-Combier est au stade d'Olembe pour évaluer le niveau d'avancement des travaux. C'est en prélude à une mission de la CAF annoncée pour le mois de mai au Cameroun. Évariste Yenga, bonjour. À date, dites-nous quel est le niveau d'avancement de ce chantier?
Aujourd'hui, jour de reprise officielle des travaux après un léger arrêt avec des objectifs précis. Il s'agit d'achever le revêtement extérieur du stade, notamment avec ce qu'ils ont appelé une ceinture en peau de pangolin, raison de ses couleurs diversifiées. Et vous le voyez ici où nous sommes actuellement, c'est le terrain de football, l'aire de jeu qui va accueillir les différentes rencontres, qui est presque prête déjà avec cette pelouse toute verte, verdoyante, en attendant que tout autour on installe cette ceinture, la piste d'athlétisme prévue avec 9 pistes. D'après les ingénieurs en charge, c'est le plus facile là-bas. Pour ce qui est du bardage extérieur, il pourra prendre pratiquement 35 semaines, soit un peu plus de 7 mois pour le réaliser intégralement. Ce sont plus de 10 350 pièces à devoir assembler pour donner la forme finale du stade à partir de l'extérieur. Et aujourd'hui est jour spécial également à Olembe puisqu'il y a cette visite annoncée. Dès les prochaines minutes, l'arrivée ici du ministre des Sports et de l'Éducation physique, en même temps président du COCAN. Ce COCAN qui sera sa forte suite pour venir toucher du doigt les réalités de cette reprise des travaux du stade.
Thank you, Évariste Yenga, for concluding this edition of the Midday Bilingual News on the CRTV. On behalf of all the entire team, it's a goodbye from us. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow morning.
À demain, Emmanuela, avec un égal plaisir.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.